2 centuries ago, the Galactic Dominion executed its final command, the extermination of the human species. Earth didn't fall in battle. It was silenced in seconds. Orbital plasma strikes, AI-led invasions, and neural disintegration swarms left nothing behind but dust and echoes. The Council called it the Purge, but not all were destroyed. A single fleet, led by a secretive order known only as the Architects, vanished into uncharted space before the end. They were not soldiers. They were visionaries, engineers, strategists, and they left without a trace. The galaxy moved on. Humanity was declared extinct. In the cold depths near the dead sectors, Dominion vessels began to disappear. No wreckage, no distress, just silence. Rumors spread across black markets and encrypted comm channels. The Dominion sends a man to investigate. Cale Thorne, half-human, half-synthetic, an assassin raised by the Dominion but haunted by dreams of fire and ash. On the edge of the void, Cale finds the first sign, a derelict warship floating dead. Inside, one phrase is burned across every surface. Echoes are seeds, we are the storm. And in the command chair, a human helmet, untouched by time. Space should not feel alive. And yet, as Cale's stealth cruiser crossed into the Bleed, a region of space so cold and lightless that even ancient maps refused to name it, he felt something stir. Not around him, inside him. The stars behind him blinked out one by one as if swallowed by an unseen curtain. His navigation systems spun uselessly. The AI stuttered. The gravitational compass looped in impossible patterns. Everything familiar was gone. Cale sat in silence, his gloved hands hovering above the flight controls. His breathing slowed as the ship entered total blackout. Not darkness, absence. Light didn't fade here. It was devoured. "Status?" he asked the onboard AI. The voice didn't respond. Only static. Then, one word. "Watching." Cale's heart thudded once. Twice. He looked out the viewport, and for a moment he thought he saw stars moving. Not drifting. Shifting. Like a massive wall of shadow was rearranging the sky. Then it appeared. The black horizon. At first it looked like a wall. Black metal. Endless. But as Cale's eyes adjusted, he saw the truth. This was not a wall. It was a boundary, a structure so vast it wrapped around the heart of dead space. Monolithic towers, ringed with soft red lights, spiraled silently around a hollow star, dark and cold. No power signature, no comms, no life. And yet Cale knew he was not alone. His ship began to slow, not by command, by force. The engines hadn't failed. Something was pulling him, softly, deliberately, like a hand reaching into the dark, guiding its prey. Cale reached for the manual override. It didn't respond. Then the message came. No visuals, no warning, just a voice. Human, calm, unshaken. "You have crossed the boundary of the forgotten. Turn back or be remembered." Cale didn't move. His pulse slowed. "Who are you?" he whispered. No reply. Outside, one of the towers lit up. Red lights blinked in sequence, running vertically down its length like a heartbeat. And then the impossible happened. The space in front of him rippled, not like an illusion, but like the universe itself was parting. A beam of white light erupted from the center of the black horizon. It hit Cale's ship, and everything went dark. He lost consciousness. When Cale awoke, he was lying on a cold white floor. No restraints, no wounds, just silence. The room was seamless, smooth, glowing softly from within the walls themselves. No door, no window. Then a figure emerged, tall, human, clad in black, no insignia, no rank, no name, but there was weight in his presence. "I am Varen," the man said, voice like steel wrapped in velvet. "Sentinel of the Sovereign Wake." Cale tried to sit up. "What is this place?" Varen stepped closer. "You crossed into our memory, into what you erased." Cale frowned. "We thought humanity was dead." Varen's face didn't move. "No, you hoped we were. But ghosts don't rest in graves. They rest in silence." He turned, gesturing toward a wall. It shifted. A window opened, revealing a vast internal chamber of the black horizon. Thousands of ships hovered in silent formation. No engines, no noise, just shadows shaped like vengeance. A hidden empire, a sleeping armada, and all of it human. Varen looked back at Kale. We never needed to be loud. The galaxy will hear us when it's too late to scream. Kale stood at the edge of the observation deck, his breath fogging the transparent barrier between him and the void. Below him, 1,000 ships hovered in perfect silence, each shaped like a weapon, each built for war, yet none bearing the scars of battle. They weren't relics. They were ready. The chamber was immense, so large it could swallow cities whole. He saw entire ecosystems cultivated in zero gravity, hydrodomes blooming with engineered trees, biospheres suspended in rings of spinning water. Life, hidden from the galaxy's eyes for 200 years. Behind him, Varen's voice cut through the stillness. We didn't survive. We evolved. Kale turned. You built all this in exile? Varen nodded once. While the galaxy watched itself rot under false peace, we remembered who we were, who you made us become. He gestured again. Another wall dissolved. Kale saw something that stole his breath. Children. Human children, in sleek uniforms, moving in unison, silent, focused, eyes sharper than any soldier he'd ever seen. They weren't just trained, they were engineered, not for destruction, but for control, for precision. Kale felt the weight of it settle in his chest. This wasn't a military base. It was a civilization, and it had grown beneath the skin of reality. Varen stepped beside him, voice lower now. You want to understand us. You think you'll leave and warn the council, but the council already knows. They just don't know what it means. Kale's fists clenched. What do you want? The lights dimmed. Across the massive chamber, a massive central column lit up. Holographic threads spun in the air. Maps, star systems, faces. Galactic Council members, trade routes, military weaknesses. Varen spoke again, his words slow and final. This is not a war. It's a course correction. Kale stared at the maps. Every major power had been mapped, infiltrated, predicted. His voice was barely a whisper. You've already begun. Varen turned to him, those cold eyes glinting with a truth that pierced the soul. While the council debated our extinction, we rewrote the future, sector by sector, thought by thought. Kale stepped back. You've infected them. Varen didn't deny it. We didn't have to fire a shot. We became a question that the galaxy forgot how to answer. Behind him, the ships began to move, slowly, silently, shifting into formation like a beast stretching after a long slumber. Kale's voice shook. What happens next? Varen leaned in, a faint echo of something like pity, or perhaps mockery in his voice. Next, you go back, and they listen to your silence. Before Kale could react, the lights flared, pure white, and the world collapsed into static. He woke on his ship. His crew was dazed, systems humming softly as if nothing had ever happened. Juro stood over him, pale feathers ruffled, eyes wide. Sir, we've been gone 3 weeks. Kale sat up slowly. The nav logs were gone, the memory cores wiped. Only one thing remained, a single object placed gently in Kale's lap. The human helmet. But now a new phrase burned across the front, etched by fire into steel. Balance begins in the dark. The stars above Moral 9 shimmered with unease. Inside the Galactic Council's emergency chamber, alarms pulsed through the floor. Dozens of species, all once confident in their order, now whispered the same question. Are the humans truly back? But Kale, no longer just a soldier, knew the answer. He stood before the council, the helmet placed on the table between them. Its surface still burned with the words, Balance begins in the dark. Leader Vaughn, pale and shaking, tried to mask his fear behind protocol. How much do they know? Kale didn't answer. He only stared. Because the truth wasn't how much the humans knew. It was how much they'd already done. Far across the void, beyond even Sector 0, the true plan had begun. Hidden transmitters, seated in trade ships, satellites, ancient ruins, began activating, not with explosions but with ideas. Entire colonies reported mass dreams, flashes of Earth, echoes of voices, feelings of guilt. On Centauri Prime, children drew stars no one had ever taught them. On Ulara Station, historians uncovered files that had been deleted centuries ago, only to find them reappearing, with annotations. The humans hadn't returned to conquer, they had returned to remind. In the shadows of space, new voices stirred. Factions once loyal to the council began questioning orders. Alien captains whispered about what they'd seen, Ships made of light, a woman's voice in their heads speaking of forgotten justice. Civil unrest surged in the outer systems. Empires turned on themselves. No blood, just truth and silence. Back on Moral 9, Zyra watched the stars through her private lens. She hadn't spoken to anyone since her return. Her mind still echoed with the voice that had asked her, "Are you ready to carry truth?" And now she understood. Truth wasn't a weapon. It was a virus, one that infected fear, one that shattered lies. Then it happened. A single human ship appeared above the skies of Dromar 6, an old trade planet, long loyal to the Council. It didn't fire. It didn't speak. It simply hovered, and as the planetary defense grid locked on, it vanished. But not before a single signal was broadcast on every channel. "You built an empire on forgetting. We built a future on remembering." The galaxy fractured overnight. Councils fell. New flags were raised, black banners with a single red dot in the center, the ancient symbol of Earth. The forgotten were no longer hidden. They were everywhere, and they didn't bring fire. They brought the truth. Final scene. Kyle, back on his ship, watches the stars go dark one by one. Each time a star fades, a new beacon lights in its place, human in origin, precise in placement. Juro asks quietly, "What do we do now?" Kale closes his eyes. "We don't stop a war. We survive a reckoning,